Hello to all of you wonderful moms out there. This is episode 47 of the Solve for Mom podcast, the show where you learn how to turn your ambitious life plans into meaningful action. I'm your host, Anoki Kapasi. Today's show is going to open up a whole new outlook for you guys. It's for those moments where you feel like you've lost touch with the passions and interests that used to light you up before you became a mom. Do you miss doing those things just for you? Whether it's going for runs or getting lost in a good book or even pursuing creative projects that brought you joy. And so I'm going to talk about how to prioritize that real you through a passion project that could even generate income. I know what it's like to feel covered up and repressed. You're spending your days conforming to others rather than expressing yourself. So like many of you, I have struggled with finding ways to do my own thing, even if it's just for an hour a week. I'll be sharing a practical 4-step framework to help you rediscover your passions while creating potential income streams. Whether you're craving to try out those business ideas that you can't stop thinking about, or you simply want to put your own desires higher on your to-do list, this episode will help you create an action plan that fits into your busy mom life. If you're ready to invest a little bit into yourself while you maintain your family priorities, let's grab that notebook and pen and let's do it. Are you looking for a way to blend success and motherhood without losing sight of who you are? I get it. I've been there too. Hi, I'm Anoki, a PhD researcher, business owner, and homeschooling mom of 2 boys. As your life coach, I help moms like you create a life you love at home and at work. If you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed, overscheduled, and overlooked, and you want a clear roadmap to a balanced life, a meaningful career, and finally feeling like yourself again while still being the amazing mama that you are, you're in the right place. In this complex equation we call life, it's time to sharpen our pencils and our minds and solve for mom. Before we start the show, I'd like to read a review from one of my awesome listeners, Lavender. She says, "It is very informative for busy moms on how to develop their skills." Well, I want to take a moment to thank you, Lavender, for leaving such a thoughtful review. Your words mean so much to me. So to all of my listeners, if you're enjoying the show too, please take a moment to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other driven moms discover these strategies and tools to help them also prioritize their big, audacious goals while being amazing moms. I remember when I first became a mom. I completely threw myself into motherhood thinking that that was what I needed to do to be a quote-unquote good mom. I stepped away from my research career, I put my interests on hold, and then I told myself I'd get back to them someday. But that someday kept getting pushed further and further away. What I didn't realize then was that by suppressing my passions and my intellectual curiosity, the very things that make me who I am, I was actually doing a disservice, not just to myself, but even to my family. I felt less disorganized, less fulfilled, and honestly, a lot less like myself. So the turning point came when I started applying my research background to motherhood. And I began treating my personal interests like experiments, right? Like testing small ways to incorporate things that I enjoyed back into my daily life. And that is when I discovered that pursuing my passions didn't mean that I had to choose between being a good mom and being true to myself. In fact, when I allowed myself to embrace both, I became a better, more present mother because I was finally whole again. Now, I'm homeschooling by day and consulting on biomedical research in the evening, and I'm also building an online business in parallel to all of this. So if you are feeling like I felt, which is lost from your true passions or wanting to find ways to do your own thing, you're living a good life, I know, but you know deep down that you want to take some bold action to turn your life into a great life. And you still want to have the flexibility to be there for your family. I know it sounds like we're asking to have it all, but I truly think that that's possible. And you heard from my story just now that I started off in that same place that you might be feeling, and I am kind of doing everything that I want to do now. So I think you're going to find my approach super straightforward and accessible. Even if you just have a few hours a week, you can really gain some momentum on moving towards these big audacious goals that you have. One where you can start creating impact, not just within your family, but even in the larger world. So the first step in my 4-step framework is to identify your true passions. And it sounds like this big, vague thing that you have to sort of formalize, but it really is a more straightforward process than it might sound at first. A passion project is something that gets you excited and that you want to pursue primarily for yourself because you enjoy it and it helps you connect with yourself more deeply. And so that's why it's really great to think about what you're passionate about and to kind of start there sometimes when you're looking to expand and make change. That's not always the solution. Sometimes you do want to start where you have been trained in some sort of professional discipline that you have been working to perfect. But right now, I want you to consider something that maybe you hadn't before, which is that you are good at a lot of things, you enjoy a lot of things, and maybe one of those things could be a source of creating impact and maybe even some financial freedom for you. So these types of passion projects really engage your curiosity and stimulate you creatively and intellectually. Some key characteristics that you can look out for is that they can be short-term or long-term or even evolve over time. So that's why maybe there's something that you just started to do or there's something that interests you that you think is a very discrete project. I want you to have an open mind and see if that is something that, if you enjoy, could be converted into a longer-term project. Passion projects require time and effort to develop skills. Just because you like it, just because you enjoy it, doesn't mean you are automatically good at it. It's just that when you are working on your passions, you're willingly spending your free time and energy on them because it brings you joy. It is easy for you to reach that state of flow. Passion projects often get classified as hobbies, right? And we're all really hardworking moms. We have a lot of goals and a lot of responsibilities on our plate, right? So sometimes hobbies can feel a little frivolous, but they don't just have to be hobbies. Passion projects, and this is kind of the point of today's episode, can turn into something much more fulfilling. They could even be a side hustle. Like, you don't have to make a career shift to get an income from it. There are so many creative options for you to work on your passion projects and get some side income, but not have to completely change your whole life around. So passion projects can be hobbies and they can be sources of income. They could be both. They could be one or the other. The core element is that a passion project engages your curiosity and it offers that creative, intellectual, or inspirational stimulation, I would say. So for high achievers like us, passion projects become a meaningful part of our identity and can contribute to both our personal growth and potentially larger purposes where we can create impact. So if you don't know where to start, a great place is always asking questions and doing some reflection. Here's some examples. What do I like to think about, right? Where does your mind wander off to? Or what are you kind of excited to try to do? And then what do I find absolutely unbearable to do? It's really great when you're trying to hone in on something to identify the things you want to steer clear from. I have a lot of other questions that you could ask. Some of them are actually in the first episode of the show, and so I'll link that in the show notes. You can look back at activities that brought you joy in the past, particularly from your childhood, and then make a list of what energized and fulfilled you before. Maybe you can pay attention to what gets you excited and what you feel compelled to keep engaging with, even without those external rewards. Because initially, you will not be making an income from it, right? So you got to have that excitement that's there, this drive to keep working on something where you aren't making money on it yet. Okay, so let's say you started asking these questions and you realized there are some activities from your past that you enjoy that you'd really like to reconnect with. But how do you transition now to doing these things that you haven't done in years? You can first explore through trial and error. That is a great place to start. That's how I started. You need to try things out first to discover what really interests you. And that's why trial and error and experimentation feels very low risk. You're just doing little bite-sized things. You're just dipping your fingers in and seeing how it sits with you. And you haven't really invested a lot in it. It's just mostly to get some information back. You're observing yourself, basically, and collecting data on yourself. Maybe you can create some sort of meaningful work by aligning your time with who you are, really. So let's say you're a very type A person and you really love organization. You're going around the house organizing anyways, and you're organizing homeschool supplies. Or maybe you're like me in charge of organizing data at work. And that is honestly a skill set that many people don't have. So you're passionate about it, you're already doing it, and it kind of is satisfying to you. Maybe that is something that you can go on and coach others on, how to declutter and how to organize. But before you go on and do something big like that, start experimenting with yourself and start taking notes as to how you really feel and maybe what makes you so good at that kind of stuff. What do you do that's successful? So then take small steps to reintegrate these activities. Set aside even maybe like 15 to 30 minutes a week and then rediscover how these activities light you up. And notice when you easily achieve that state of flow during those activities. These passions often aren't fully formed from the start, right? So you're going to develop first through exploration and discovery, and then you eventually will deepen your interest and your skill over time. Another really low risk way, and actually fun way, is to connect with others who share similar interests as you because they can provide you encouragement and mentorship as you're developing these skills. If you're ready to stop feeling lost and reconnect with your passions while maintaining family balance, I'd really love to help you create a personalized life plan. Life planning is a systematic way to identify your priorities. You can align your time with who you are and take meaningful action towards your goals, whether that's starting a passion project or building an income stream around what lights you up. Through my Balanced Mom coaching program, I'm going to be able to help you get clarity on what's truly meaningful to you and your non-negotiables, create a sustainable roadmap that fits your family life, and for you to take strategic action to turn these things that you've been saying, I'll get back to someday, these dreams that you have, into reality. The first step is so simple. All you have to do, with no strings attached, is book a free exploratory call where we'll discuss if this is the right fit for you. I know your time is precious, and so this call is going to help us both determine if we're aligned in our approach and to helping you thrive. And if you're still not sure, just visit my website. Take my free life planning quiz first, because that's going to give you initial insights in how life planning can help prioritize the authentic you. And then if that resonates, you can book that free exploratory call so we can explore how we can work together and help you create that intentional life. The links to all of the things I just mentioned are all in the show notes. I look forward to talking to you. The second step is to plan out the project. Your goal is to create a sustainable timeline. You don't want to overburden yourself. You don't want to be adding so much to your plate that you're kind of killing the fun of the whole thing. You want to build in these activities to your schedule in a way that's kind of flexible so that you can still continue to show up for your family or show up at your work. It's really helpful to organize them into 3 categories of goals. So I first sort of brain dump all the things that I would need to do to make this passion project happen, right? Maybe I have to learn certain things. I might have to research certain things. I might have to get certain supplies. I might have to find space and other logistics. I might have to manage my finances. The specifics, of course, will vary from project to project. But then take each of those tasks and then categorize them into small, medium, and big tasks. And even for the tasks, I would further combine them so that you can set specific goals and know how you're going to track your progress. Small goals are basically quick wins that can be accomplished in short time frames. The medium goals are intermediate milestones where you will have had to build some progress before getting to that point. And then bigger goals are basically a larger objective where you've combined a bunch of smaller goals, or they are big because they require more time and planning. But at the most basic level, you just want to find ways to do your own thing, even if it's just an hour a week. If you want to know more about project planning and creating project timelines and finding basically that balance between your passion projects and your family time, I am linking an episode that talks about home projects and how to plan everything out from beginning to end, from research all the way through to taking action on all of the goals that you set in there. Step 3 is to take meaningful action. You can do all the planning you want and all the self-discovery that you want, but if you actually want to create impact, you're going to have to take action. So I just mentioned that I have an episode that I'm linking that talks about my take action cycle. It is fully described there. In essence, you want to move from planning to starting the project, and then eventually you're going to be refining along the way, and that is why you don't need to have it all perfectly planned out. You can take messy action. The refining will happen after you start taking action, and then you can complete your project. And by complete, I mean meet your goals along the way. Because a lot of these projects can be lifelong things, especially if you're talking about maybe getting some sort of passive income from it. You're not going to stop it once you've done it once. So as I said, the key is to initially do a short burst of planning and research. Now, there is a way to do it to ensure that you're getting enough information to responsibly start and not have it be a total disaster. But it is okay to start before you have it all figured out, because once you start, you are going to have the opportunity to then dive deeper into the gaps of knowledge that you might have and fill those in, or to, like I said, refine things that maybe you want to do a little better. So then the fourth step is to transform your passion into a source of income. The goals are that whatever you do, you want it to be flexible, be a source of passive income, be meaningful, and that you know what the specific goal for what you're trying to accomplish. By flexible, I mean that you want to be able to develop a sustainable solution that's going to fit with your existing very busy mom life. The passive income part is what's going to offer you financial freedom, but it's not a given that this is going to be necessarily your new career. It really depends on how you identified your passion, because there's really two paths to monetizing your passion projects. One is where you take an existing professional skill and turn it into a sort of passion-driven business, right? Like offering consulting or coaching based on your expertise, something that you're really knowledgeable about. Or you're developing a new skill through some sort of dedicated practice that you have gotten some level of proficiency in and that you can now offer as something that you sell or serve in some way. And then for it to be meaningful, it is work that is really aligned with your values and it's purpose-driven. So it brings you a sense of fulfillment. And then knowing the specific purpose of this source of income is really to understand whether this is going to be a side hustle for you. Is it just having more flexibility in your job? Or is this really a shift that you're making now in your career? You're ending your current work and moving towards this new thing. And so just like when you are identifying your passions and you're exploring these new activities, here, when we talk about monetizing your passions, you want to start small and start testing things out. You're going to test the market. You're going to see if people are interested in your idea. If you're creating a product, you want to see if it's actually solving the problem that people might have. As you're doing this testing, you really want to get a lot of feedback from initial, well, they're not necessarily clients and customers right away, but people who are helping you test things out. People that are going to give you constructive feedback. And then based off of all of that, you're going to refine what you have built or what you offer that is going to be a source of income for you. And so consider this to be a very flexible income stream, right? It could be a part-time thing that you do. It could be maybe contract work where you take one project here and there while you're building things, while you're building your idea and building whatever it is that you're offering. For example, you might have some digital products that come out of your passion project. Once you have created that, you can sell it repeatedly and it can generate some passive income for you. Or if you gain some experience or some insight and knowledge on something, that could be something that you can teach. You don't have to be so much farther along than the people you're trying to help. You just have to be a couple steps ahead. So you could teach or you could coach others in your area of expertise. There are lots of flexible ways where you can start earning income that doesn't require you to make a huge career shift, but that still taps into that part of you that likes to be challenged and also that likes to create impact. And the last thing to focus on when you're converting this passion project into a source of income is to focus on being consistent, because that's the only way you're going to be able to grow. So you want to design some offering that's going to fit your family schedule, right? Because if it's going to be an extra responsibility that you are having to address every day and you're already overwhelmed, well, the chances that this is really going to work or can be successfully converted is really low. You're going to want to create some boundaries and maintain that work-life balance that we have talked about many times on the show. So you're going to really pull in all of those skills and strategies when you are ready to kind of, whether it's scale it or grow it or expand it in some way, really kind of deepen your offering. You really want to do that gradually because your skills are also developing in this area. Every time you want to add more to your idea or take one more step along that project timeline, it may require you to build more skills. Not necessarily proficiency in whatever your passion project is, because you might already be quite skilled at it, but there are so many ancillary aspects that you may not have ever been exposed to. For example, how do you collect payment? Or do you need to build a website? Or how do you set up an Etsy shop? Or maybe something to do with marketing. And I just want to end by making some remarks on the fact that I really was kind of focused on passive income because I think that that is probably the easiest on your schedule. That in order for this to be something that starts off as a passion project and that you may find that it's useful for other people and people are willing to pay you for, that if it's something that is more of a passive offer or service, then it's more likely to be sustainable, given that you probably already have a very full life and may not be in a position to switch careers. However, that's not to say that you can't have other very creative ways of earning an income. For example, maybe you're really great at gardening. As you're gardening, your neighbors walk by, as they often do where I live, and they start admiring and they start asking you, well, how did you do this? Or what flower is that? Or your tomatoes are looking awesome. And they are interested in gaining skills for them to then take and use in their own home gardens. Well, that is something for you to take note of. Do they want to do it themselves? Are they really excited by this new information and then they are then going to go on and try to implement it themselves? In that case, maybe you could create something like a handbook or a course or something so that people have the information, they'd be willing to pay you for it, and then they can then use it themselves. Or are they just really admiring your process, your touch on things? It's possible they may recruit you to consult for them in their garden and advise them how they should start enhancing it. Or maybe even have you do the work. They'd be willing to pay you to outsource that work to you. So there really are so many ways that you could convert something into income. It's just a matter of what your schedule is going to allow, what your personal interest is and capacity is, what excites you, and what kind of demand there is out there. Now let's recap the 4 key steps to prioritize your authentic self through passion projects. So 1, identify your true passions by reflecting on what brings you joy and energy. 2, create a sustainable project plan that fits your family life. 3, take meaningful action through small, consistent steps. 4, monetize your passion through testing. Leverage what you already know and have, and then strategically plan it into your life. Remember, pursuing your passion project isn't a selfish thing, okay? It's really essential for your well-being, and it helps you show up as a better version of you for your family. And so when you're prioritizing activities that really light you up, you're actually modeling authentic living to your children. You might even be creating potential income from it, which gives you even more flexibility and freedom to show up for your family. So until next time, let's keep solving for the real you. I hope today's episode will help you create time and freedom to pursue something you love to do. If you enjoy this show, please subscribe and tell other ambitious mamas about it. Who knows, you might even make a new friend by sharing a tip. It's all free. By the way, it would be amazing to hear what you think about the show when you leave a review. After all, my passion is to make this a great experience for you. Thank you for making my show a part of your day. I'll see you next week for another episode of the Solve for Mom podcast with Anoki Kapasi.